The three most overrated pieces of early retirement advice are as follows. Number one, you need $1 million to retire. You don't. Let me show you right now. If you look at my screen here, this is a real client that we work with today. You can see I changed their name for security purposes, but they're 55 and 54 years old. Now, this is their current plan. They have $987,000. They're planning on retiring at 62. And you can see their graph is trending upwards, meaning they have $987,000 today. And if they project to live until age 90, they'll have about $2.8 million. So this is where a lot of people go wrong. They'll think, I need $1 million to retire. I need $2 million. I need $5 million. You don't. It totally depends on how much you want to spend for your retirement. You can see here, they're projecting $4,000 a month. Now, there's some more cases like this that I'm going to be showing, and I'm going to go into more detail on this specific case today, but that's the first just overrated advice. People will say, I need 10 million to retire or 5 million. You don't. You need to make sure you can absolutely meet your expenses. And there's nothing wrong at all. If you're like, 4,000 a month, how could anyone possibly live and enjoy their life with that amount of money? I need 10 or 20,000 a month. We have clients that spend 4,000 a month, and we have clients that spend 30,000 a month. There's not a right or wrong. We just want to make sure you're spending on what you care about most. Now I'm going to go through the next 2 tips here for you, but please know my name is Taublieb. I'm a certified financial planner. I am the host of the Early Retirement Podcast, and I'm the Chief Growth Officer here at Root, where we help people with holistic financial planning. If you want to use the same tool that I'm going to show you today, you can do so in the description of this video. Before I go into detail on the second piece of advice that I feel is just massively overrated, I want to show you the impact of good planning. So if you look at my screen here, this is once again the base case of someone who's 55, 54 years old, and they want to retire at 62. And then once again, they're projected to pass away at 91. Now, pretend we were to shift this and they want to retire at 58, just hypothetically instead. You're going to see there's going to be fewer dollars, but are they still on track? Well, it depends on their goals. Some people want to leave $1 million to multiple children. Some people don't. Some people would go, wow, if you're telling me I could retire hypothetically now on $987,000, would we be okay? Well, you could see there becomes a point where no, we would run out of money. Now, it depends on life expectancy and many different things here, but we see a lot of people, for example, this person's making $140,000 a year. What if they did part-time work for 5 years and they made $60,000 a year? How does that change the plan? Well, you can see now, wow, that makes a big difference. Bringing in $60,000 a year for a few years when we have healthcare costs and more travel because you have your health and your energy makes a big difference. So this is a cool tool that you can play around with. Now, here you go. This is the second just piece of advice that's so overrated. Maximize your 401k, IRA above everything else. I hear that all the time. Make sure to max out your 401k. Now, I'm not against that advice, especially when it's to children who are starting out in a new career. Yes, try to max out your 401k. I tell this example a lot, but it's a fun one, so I like to share it. I had a couple come to me and they said, I want you to speak to my child about investing. It's their first time and they just can't hear it from mom and dad. They won't listen. I said, okay, can I speak very transparently to your child? And they said, yeah, we know you, just go for it. I said, okay. So the child and I are having a conversation and I remember his face, which is why I'm laughing right now. And he goes, yeah, so I want you to help me put Bitcoin in my 401k. And my dad said, you could help me do that. Now I know that's not what his dad said, but I'm playing along with it. And I go, okay, I just have one thing. Do you mind if I share it with you first? And he goes, okay, what is it? I said, shut up. And he goes, how dare you speak to me that way? Now, I did it in a more jokingly tone, but I said, no, seriously. If you want to optimize your investments so that maybe you don't have to work forever, you're thinking about it wrong. And the son goes, okay, tell me more. And I said, well, think about it like this. If you get, let's just say a 50% return on $1,000, that's a big deal, but it's only $500 as opposed to your parents. If they have $1 million and they get a 50% return, that's $500,000. So what I need you to do is I need you to max out your 401k. You cannot actually outsave good investing. At this point, what I want them to do, that child, is I want them to go put $20,000 into a 401k. Try to get close to maxing it out, focusing less on returns or Bitcoin in this example. Their parents, I say, are in the exact opposite situation. If they came to me and they said, I want you to help me max out my 401k, I wouldn't be that happy. And sometimes people are confused when I say that. But the reason I'm not that happy is if they have $1 million and they get a 10% return, that's $100,000. If they go max out their 401k, which includes a lot of effort and energy, well, they're working to put away maybe $30,000. Would you rather put away $30,000 with significant time, energy, and effort, or get a 10% return for $100,000? Now, I'm making it seem like 10% is really easy, but the example here is when you're younger, it's way more important to make sure you're saving more dollars. When you're older, it's more important to invest the right way. Ideally, we all do both, but here's my story and why I'm going to connect it for you right now. If you look at my screen here, here's someone that did really well. They are in their 50s. They have $61,000 in a brokerage account. They have the majority of their money in a 401k, a little bit in a Roth IRA, and an HSA. So you can see here, their 401k, this is something that's all pre-tax, which means they will pay taxes on this money. And if they want to retire early, if they don't want to use what's called the rule of 55, which allows you to tap into your 401k at age 55, as long as you retire in the year you turn 55 or later, well, they're going to be in a very tough spot to create income. And one of the biggest things I talk about is healthcare for an early retirement. And you can control your subsidy based off of your income. So pretend this had $10 million right here. They could still pay legitimately a few $100, sometimes even less, in healthcare if they're massaging their income. And when you retire early, you choose how you create your income. So in this situation here, their 401k, this is what I call qualified rich. You know, house rich, cash poor? That's my parents. They have a wonderful home in Malibu, but they don't want to sell it and they don't have a lot of cash other than their home. So they're house rich, cash poor. This person is what I call qualified rich, cash poor. Most of their money is in a qualified retirement account here. I would love to see more here, even if it was a smaller amount, because this is a powerful account that allows you to pay capital gains taxes, not ordinary income. So this is a prime example of someone who maxed out their 401k, but maybe it would have been better to actually put more money into a brokerage account, which is oftentimes my recommendation for a lot of people. They're maxed out their 401k when I'd rather see you just get the employer match, always take the free money, but beyond that, start considering this brokerage account, which I call a superhero account. Now, if you look up Taublieb superhero, I think it will come up here, how to invest in your brokerage superhero account. So you can see here, a lot of you resonated with this video because this is specifically for an early retirement. So I encourage you to check that out. Now, the third piece of advice that is so overrated is cut all your expenses to your bare minimum to retire early and quit the workforce. The reality is, if you do go retire, I don't want you to do appetizer planning, which is where you retire. And yes, you are retired, but you're like, I don't think I can afford that appetizer. That wasn't in my plan. That's a stressful retirement. So if you look at my screen here, if we go back to this case and let's pretend they say they want to retire at 62, like we originally discussed, and I'm just going to use some sample here. Pretend they're like, we're not going to do part-time work, but instead of $4,000 a month, they want to spend $6,000 a month in retirement. And this is all after taxes adjusted for inflation, by the way. Well, you can see if their goal is not to pass away with $2.8 million and instead have $1.6 million, the difference right there, but they got to spend another $24,000 a year, that's significant. So what I tell people is I want you to retire on your own terms. I don't want you to retire too late and be mad at me when you have $20 million working till you're 70. That's not what I'm saying here. But I also don't want you to retire so early that you run the risk of running out of money or you retire and you're not fully enjoying it. So hopefully these 3 pieces of advice resonated with you. If they did, please comment below because I love getting to hear from you guys. That's why I make all these videos. They're all for you guys. I do it all for free here on YouTube. Now, if you want a strategy to holistically manage your finances, that is what we do here at Root Financial. I encourage you to reach out by going to our website, rootfinancial.com. In the upper right, you'll see a little button that says click here to see if you're a fit. You can be prompted to answer just a few questions. Not you can, you will be. And then we might get to talk soon with a Root advisor where we get to help you manage all of this. That's it for this video. See you guys next time.